Is this thing working? I believe so. Good day. My name is Martin Schweiger and I'm a patent attorney and powerlifter in Singapore. And today is a Tuesday, what is it? 8th of July 2025 is now noontime 1:30. I take you with me on my daily walk, noontime walk. I try to catch some sun. The sun under the equator is just above me. Yeah. Sun is said to boost vitamin D, but I've measured that over 6 weeks. No, it doesn't boost vitamin D a lot. So I need to take my supplements, which is vitamin D and K2. Without that, my vitamin D level is very bad. But that's only in the sideline. Only in the sideline. I believe the walking under the sun is invigorating the entire metabolism in the body. So that's why walking under the noontime sun is healthy. I like it also because I was sitting under the aircon in my study and doing my work as a patent attorney this morning, which I love. And also as a company owner, I can really do what I like to do most of the time. And I'm preparing for an international meet in Himeji in Japan on Saturday. Today is Tuesday, so I have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday. 4 days out of the competition, 4 p.m. And I'm comfortably within my weight class, 105 kg. This morning I had 103 point something, 103.4 kg body weight. I need to be below 105. Easy. And I must say, let's walk in. What helps me most is my blood glucose or continuous blood glucose meter that I'm wearing here on my arm. That is the one single most important, no, not single. That is one very important measurement instrument from the beginning, together with my Oura ring, the ring that I'm wearing here on my pinky, because my fingers are so fat that the biggest size of the Oura ring just still doesn't fit on my pointer finger. So I need to wear the second biggest size on my pinky, and it works well. Today I choose a river walk. River walks are very nice because then you get the cool breeze from the water. Look at this, huh? Is it gorgeous or not? Yeah, get the cool breeze from the water and just nice. Let's see how far I get today. I should switch my mobile phone to flight mode. I will do that now when I'm in the shade, because the switching to flight mode is important, because if someone calls me, it seems to me that the past 2 minutes or so, 3 are missing. It's really something I should switch to airplane mode before I even start recording. Yeah. Maybe I need to repeat what I just said, but I have maybe forgotten it. What I wanted to say is that my initial goal was this year in January was to get below 100 kg body weight. And that was starting from 112 kg. And when I saw that I can achieve that, when I prepared for my powerlifting meet in February, I saw this very achievable to get below 105 kg and even to scratch near the 100 kg mark. Now for my second competition this year, international, in Himeji, Japan, my initial goal was to go below 100 kg. And that is achievable. So what I found is that with my measurement methods, I can easily find out where my body is. Is it burning ketones or is it burning glucose? It is measured with a breath acetone meter. I also can find out whether it produces ketones by measuring my blood ketone value. And also, to a certain extent, by measuring the ketones that are present in the urine. And then I have a few measurements for my blood glucose. I mean, the most, how to say, telling one would be having glucose in your urine, which I don't have, never. Then the second one is I have a finger prick blood glucose measurement, and the number 3 is the continuous blood glucose meter. And with these 2 methods, I can say whether my body is in fat burning mode, I mean body fat burning mode, or not. Because in order to get the body fat burned, which means a real weight loss, you need to first create some signal for the body to switch from burning glucose to burning ketones. That would signal the fat cells to issue triglycerides, I believe, to free fatty acids in the blood. Then they would be converted to ketones and acetone in the liver and maybe also kidneys, not so sure. And that would be measurable. And then once this is burned, then the byproducts are like the ketones. The byproduct, like acetone, is found in the breath. And I can measure that to a degree that if I know my history, my blood glucose always being low, below 5 or 6, and I didn't eat anything that would spike my blood glucose, I can safely assume that my body is producing ketones. So all what I need to measure is whether I'm still in the ketonic mode, and that is with a breath analyzer. But that's not, how to say, so easy. If you, for example, eat some hidden glucose, it may be that your body stops producing ketones and switches into glucose burning. And if you miss that, then you are running under the wrong assumption that you're burning body fat. So it makes sense to closely monitor blood glucose. And I do this before competitions. The 2 weeks before, I'm wearing my blood glucose, the continuous blood glucose meter. And I develop my insights into what my body does. And I need to share something very insightful with you. I had an experience that was random. So I couldn't really run it as an experiment, but as I have all the measurement data, I can reconstruct what has happened. And that's very telling and interesting. Because so what I did is, you remember, right? On Sunday I had a coconut, a sweet one from Thailand, the ones without the husk. And these guys put sugar into their coconuts. It's not a naturally sweet coconut. So my blood glucose spiked, and it took me something like 16 hours, 18 hours to recover from that spike. So I had a flat blood glucose the entire Monday afternoon. By then I was also back into a mild ketonic mode with a breath acetone, something around 40 or 50 parts per million. And that indicates that, I'm burning ketones, but it could be more. And it went up to 60 or so the late afternoon. And Monday is always my training day. And yesterday was a special day because I just prepared for my final heavy lifts for the competition on Saturday, coming Saturday. So what I did is, at 5 p.m. I was still on a phone call, and I had this craving for energy. My blood glucose was low, it was something like 6 point something, still from the smoothie that I had at 2:30. After smoothie, and if it's a low carb smoothie, then the carbs would rise a bit and then stay there for 2 or 3 hours. And so I was at 6 something. And so I went to the fridge, and I always have, for immediate energy supply, nuts. Not in the fridge, but on top of the fridge. Plus I have some very dark chocolate inside my fridge. I prefer the Lindt brand from Switzerland, and they have something that is exclusive or something quite expensive in Singapore, but I don't eat so much. But recently I saw a new brand that says no added sugar, and it actually doesn't have a company name as a brand. It's a very descriptive, non-distinctive branding. But what jumped at me was no added sugar. And I should have been more careful, because if someone says no added sugar, it may be that they bought some chocolate from somewhere and reformed it into bars and then branded, hey, we didn't add any sugar. And then, very sneaky way. I did this unfair competition law stuff for too long, so I can even analyze what they're doing and put it in words so that you can request an interim injunction against those practices. Not so with me today. I'm more into innovation and novelty and growth and not destroying. So I put the first piece into my mouth, and I immediately knew there was sugar. because these taste buds are so reliable. So if there's sugar, and I can taste it, even small amounts of sugar. So I turned the package around and it says, oh, it's reasonable, maybe 5 grams per 100 gram of carbohydrates. And yes, there was very little sugar added, less than 1%, which tells me that for food stuff, if you have something that has less than 1% content, if it's sugar or alcohol or whatever, then you can say it's without that, because 1% doesn't count as an ingredient. I believe there's even an official rule for that. So, I kept on eating, and I stuffed, I believe, 50 grams into me. Oh, it was so good with coffee and with some nuts. So I was really, that was half an hour before my training started. And, you know, Monday is always strength training day. So, off I went. It's about a 15 minutes walk to my gym. And off I went. And I arrived there. Half an hour later, I checked my blood glucose, my continuous blood glucose meter again, and it spiked to 8.8. And it was really not a little bump, so it was really like a hockey stick, whoop, up from there. Yeah, half an hour later, and I was really scared. And I said, shit, will it stop my ketosis? Now you see already what I'm looking for. I'm not interested in whether this is transformed into fat or whatever. My problem is my body is in ketosis, and it was so tough to get there. Now I do everything I can in order to remain there, and that means only eat fat and protein. And in my special case, because I'm competing on Saturday, I also stay away from fibers, because fibers would accumulate in my guts, the large intestine, where the fecal bacteria would feed on them, and then they would also accumulate water, and that water counts against my body weight. And I want my body weight down, so I don't eat fiber since last week at all, if possible. So back, I want to stay in ketosis. I don't want my body to think to switch into glucoses. There are more modes I explain in one of the very early lessons. I say even lesson. No, it's not a lesson, it's a talk. I'm collecting my thoughts here. And so, what I do not want is to get into glucosis. So I was scared, will I get into glucosis? And then I remember the tip that at a very early stage of my metabolic syndrome being diagnosed, a restaurant owner gave me, because she put sugar into my meal and my blood glucose spiked immediately. So she said I should run. And it works, as seen on my continuous blood glucose meter. And so what I did is I jumped on the Assault bike. That's a special brand, and is a stationary bike that produces wind, and it comes with a power display. So I crank it up to 280 watts for 5 minutes. That I do actually every time I go for strength training, because it's a good warm-up for my left knee that underwent surgery 2 years ago. 2 years is it already? Unbelievable. Time flies. So, and after that I started my first squat, which was heavy, 140 kg, which is something like 90% of my max. and then followed by 2 sets of 80% max strength squats, which is 126 kg in my case. And after that I measured again. Now guess what happened. My blood glucose went down to 6.0 from 8.8, and the display of my continuous blood glucose meter went from the hockey stick to a flat line with a little molehill as a bump. And what I derived from that, and is confirmed by my AI, it was just enough glucose in my blood to make that movement happen. So isn't that an interesting insight? That opens now the field to more studies. So, it all starts with the same challenge. Get your ketones high so that you're in fat burning mode. Important step. Then step 2. Do this for a sufficient amount of time. In my case, let's say 4 hours in the afternoon. Then measure to verify that you are in ketonic mode. That's done with a blood ketones meter and a breath analyzer. Then wait until half an hour before the training begins. Then eat a defined amount of carbohydrates. And I suggest to use the low dose sugar chocolate that I've mentioned earlier. And it's so easy to dosage, to provide a dosage, because you can break it into part and then put 50%, 75%, 25% or 100%. And then measure how high the blood glucose spikes. I mean, in my case, preferred would be a hockey stick, which means it goes through the rooftop within no time after, let's say, it became absorbed into the blood. And then do your workout and then see how far this blood glucose spike would be pushed back. And then also record how you feel during the first workout. Also, that is quite subjective and depends on many things, like day form, sleep, what you have eaten for lunch, and other things. Anyway, that would give me a measurement for what to look for. And that is only one measurement. The next one is for the coming competition. as I did for the same as what I did for the last competition, I had carbs all over the day, and to a degree that, as I name it, the carbs came out of my ears. I couldn't see carbohydrates anymore. So yeah, I saturate my body with carbohydrates that would push my carbohydrates up to, I would say, 11 nanomole per liter, I believe is the unit, or microgram. I forgot. And one more bridge. Can. Long walk today. I just wanted to tell you, so this is one side of the channel that I'm walking along, and it comes with a bridge. And it took me half an hour to come here, which means half an hour to go back. Would be a nice walk, but because today is Tuesday and I'm not training tonight, I just try to clock 12,000 steps, and I have more than an hour left for my next meeting, which can also be postponed a bit. So I go for the next bridge. So for the next competition, I will do the same, and I will check whether my blood glucose would come down between the different attempts within one exercise and between the exercises. And I would say I don't eat between the attempts, only before the attempt, and I try to get my blood glucose into saturation. And I also measure how much glucose I took in, which is a bit difficult because I wouldn't only eat chocolate. What I also do is I eat dried fruits like figs and also mangoes. Plus I eat gummy bears. I drink coconut water with honey inside and of course salt. I eat magnesium. I put potassium salt inside and Himalaya salt, the pink salt. And that is far from being a well-calibrated input. But I just make sure that I'm saturated with carbohydrates on that day. And then I measure what is the outcome. The right time for input would be half an hour between two exercises. And I'm not even sure whether it's half an hour after the first exercise, which is a squat. Could be that it's only 15 minutes for the second exercise, which is bench press. And also 15 minutes between bench press and the last exercise, which is deadlift. But anyway, I believe the coconut water with honey inside, which is pure carbohydrate in liquid form, would do their job. Also interesting, my gimbal here, it consumes a lot of energy, so the power display went from 4 dots to 2 dots, and then it stays there. And I found out that I can only talk 1 hour until the battery is empty, and then there's no way to fix the gimbal in the position where it is, so it would give a distorted image. Yeah. So far about my random discovery from using a continuous blood glucose meter to eating what is a low sugar chocolate. My other insight is there is no zero sugar chocolate, and if you're a diabetic or a cancer patient and you try to be in ketonic mode, then this is a warning, because being in ketonic mode is a strategy of survival then. That also explains why in the past all the people that I knew that were cancer patients and they tried to heal themselves with ketonic methods only survived if they really were 110% into that. Being more Catholic than the Pope is then the motto. You really need to push for 0 carbs, 0 protein, because the body would produce carbohydrates from protein input. The process is called neoglucogenesis. So the way is to starve the body to a degree that you're in autophagy. And autophagy in that sense means that not only does the body consume the cancer cells, which are also part of the body, but also other cells of the body. I believe you will lose muscle mass by doing that. You have to lose muscle mass, and you would aim at body fat of very low, like some 1-digit %. And all my examples here are not made for the clapping here. So yes, my goal is I want to go to a body weight of 83 kg, which is the number in kg. What is my body height? I'm 1.83 m tall, and 180, the body height minus 100 would be something like a good weight, a healthy weight. Let's check this one out. There's a shop house row which I have never seen before. So that's my goal. I want to get it 83 kg body weight. And not only that, I want to go below that, 10% below that. Interesting. This is like a cultural center, dance class, shop, body. And then there's a food court here. But it's now lunchtime and half of the shops are closed. Interesting. And a flower shop. I've never been here before, although I live here for 25 years already in Singapore. So in very short words, the continuous blood glucose meter is one of my most important measurement tools because it shows me so much. And I mean, consequently, not being very much into losing weight right now, and because of water retention, and so I'm even taking creatine, which is a supplement that improves the energy production by the mitochondria. So, and the creatine, if you take it, would also increase the water kept in your body. And despite all that, my body weight went down from 104.0 kg yesterday morning to 103.4 kg this morning. So I'm declining in body weight, which is a good thing, as you know, because I want to go down another 20 kg. But now knowing what ketosis means is much easier for me. And what I can share with you as a personal testimonial, remaining in ketosis is not burdensome, is not painful, is not... And now I know what is going on in my body, and that means that I understand I'm not hungry. Sure, I have sometimes cravings, but those cravings can be killed, or you wouldn't say killed, satisfied by eating food that doesn't drive my blood glucose up, which is the most important thing. I want to stay in ketosis. So and that, if I achieve that, then this will make sure that I'm burning fat, body fat, and all that fast, which is what I want, right? And a certain routine also helps, like my daily walk. Which brings me to my next point, sleep. I found out by a testimonial I told you yesterday that is this the bridge that I was looking for? Yeah, but I didn't want the bridge. I want the stadium. See? And what I did yesterday, I went to bed very early, something like 11 p.m. And I followed a bit of the advice that my AI gave me for improving my sleep, which means that I drank some ginger and hot lemon tea before I went to bed. I took a shower. Unfortunately, we don't have ice water in our shower, so I could only take a hot shower with some lukewarm or cold after a hot shower. And I went to bed, light out at soon, lying there. I forgot I took magnesium for falling asleep. And that's it. Aircon on. But for further improving my sleep, yeah, actually the result was I got sleep quality of 79%, but the cost was that I stayed in bed for 9 hours until 8:30 or so. I remember that I woke up several times, and so something is wrong, still wrong. Tomorrow I will, tonight, I will do the same and bring down the temperature from 26 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees. And what else? Yeah, see what is the difference. But try to be in bed at 11-ish. Same time as today. My lowest sleeping pulse was 58, which is quite low. For example, if I drink alcohol, even the smallest amount, before I sleep, then my heart rate during sleep, the lowest heart rate, can easily be 62 or 65. So that is a sign. Then there's the HRV, which is a measurement of the variability, heart rate variability. For mine is quite low, it's something in the between 10 and 20, more towards the 10, like 12-ish. And then there's amount of REM, random eye movement sleep, and deep sleep, which is important for recovery. So my deep sleep last night was quite good, more than 1 hour, but the REM was not. Yeah, actually I heard of someone who could rake in 4 hours of REM and deep sleep combined. Which is quite amazing. And all that in only 9 hours. So, what I found out is sleeping longer than 9 hours is also not healthy. Because I don't know why, I will find out. So the goal is set. I dedicate 9 hours of sleep to my body and now try to maximize the REM and deep sleep. And I have how many nights? Tonight Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I have 4 nights to try to do so. Although I must say it's not really true, because tomorrow night is Wednesday night. I fly from Singapore to Japan, and that is a night flight. It would leave me stranded at the airport at midnight and only put me down to Osaka airport at something like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's not really a convenient night, but at least I can try today.
Good morning.
Good afternoon. Friendly people, huh? Okay, I've reached the MRT station. I walked for 1 hour. I take now 2 MRT stations, train back. I give you some inside Singapore MRT station. This is the Mountbatten station. Oh, so hot. But it was a good walk. I will soon find out how many steps. My guess, so today I have about 10,000 so far. More than enough. Maybe I do another light walk during noontime. I will now buy some protein when I arrive. Just not sure what type of protein. I have cheese at home, which would qualify. I could do a smoothie with the avocado. Sounds good, huh?
Molestation and taking upscale photos are serious offenses. Offenders will
I don't think.
to the police.
I don't think. Okay, let's switch.